EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen has confirmed that European countries will begin vaccinating people against coronavirus on December 27th. The announcement by von der Leyen came shortly after German Health Minister Jens Spahn said the country would begin its vaccination campaign on December 27th. Brussels has indicated that although member states are to receive the vaccine manufactured in Belgium and Germany on the same day, it will be up to them to organise and coordinate their own vaccination campaign. Russian airline Aeroflot has announced it will designate specific seats on board its planes for passengers who refused to wear masks. Aeroflot, which is Russia's largest airline and national flag carrier, has a policy that travelers must wear masks while boarding and while on the plane, unless they are eating, drinking or changing masks. Mask-wearing policies on planes vary throughout the world, and individual carriers often make their own rules. Much of the burden on enforcing these policies is passed on to flight attendants. Twitter announced that it will force people to remove tweets that contain false information about COVID-19 vaccines. Starting next week, Twitter will prioritize the removal of the most harmful, misleading information, and during the coming weeks, begin to label tweets that contain potentially misleading information about the vaccine. As such, any tweets with conspiracy theories that claim that immunizations and vaccines are used to intentionally cause harm to or control populations will be removed. The United Nations has released $36.6 million for civilians caught up in the conflict that has roiled Ethiopia's Tigray region since early last month, in order to secure water, sanitation and life-saving medical supplies. Weeks of fighting in the northern region have reportedly left hundreds dead, thousands displaced and millions in the urgent need of humanitarian assistance. More than 50,000 people, almost half of them children, have fled across the border into Sudan. The UN Emergency Relief Coordinator Mark Lowcock said that after 6 weeks of conflict, the civilian toll is mounting. Women and children arrive in Sudan with disturbing stories of violence, deprivation and abuse. Many have not made it out. Thousands of families in the United Kingdom impacted by COVID-19 are to receive one-off emergency food assistance from UN Children's Fund UNICEF over the upcoming holiday period and beyond. Anna Keatley, Director of Programmes at UNICEF, said UK, it is the first time in the organisation's more than 70-year history that it has stepped in to help the country's most vulnerable. The agency has partnered with a group called Sustain and provided grants to 30 community projects and aims to reach between 10,000 and 50,000 young people until the program ends in April of 2021. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is appealing to rich nations to support the purchase of coronavirus vaccines for poor countries. Guterres said the UN-backed COVAX program needs $5 billion until the end of January. The program, created to ensure access to COVID-19 vaccines for all countries, currently faces a shortfall of more than $20 billion. US President-elect Joe Biden said that a recently uncovered far-reaching cybersecurity breach against the US government was a matter of great concern and vowed swift action and response once he takes office next month. Biden, who will become president on January 20th, said his team will make the breach a top priority and would impose substantial costs on parties responsible for such cyber attacks. US authorities expressed increased alarm about an intrusion into computer systems around the globe that officials suspect was carried out by Russian hackers, with the nation's civilian cybersecurity agency warning that it poses a grave risk to government and private networks. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency said in its most detailed comments yet that the intrusion has compromised government agencies as well as critical infrastructure in a sophisticated attack that was hard to detect and will be difficult to undo. The officials said that the administration is working on the assumption that most, if not all, government agencies were compromised, but the extent of the damage was not yet known. According to a Danish startup company, floating barges fitted with advanced nuclear reactors could begin powering developing nations by the mid-2020s. Seaborg Technologies believes it can make cheap nuclear electricity a viable alternative to fossil fuels across the developing world as soon as 2025. Its seaborne mini-nukes have been designed for countries that lack the energy grid infrastructure to develop utility-scale renewable energy projects, many of which go on to use gas, diesel and coal plants instead. All Dubai Metro station platforms will be allocated unique numbers, and not anymore will they be addressed by the destination names. The Roads and Transport Authority said changing the addressing system of the metro platforms involves designating them with numbers instead of end destination station names. The authority is also updating sign ages and audio announcements of the metro stations. The lives of mothers and babies were left in danger at one of England's largest hospital trusts, according to the care watchdog, the Care Quality Commission. Maternity services at Nottingham University Hospitals Trust, which delivered 8,200 babies in 2019, have been downgraded to inadequate and enforcement action taken by the regulator. The CQC made a series of unannounced inspections to the trust's two maternity units the week after a coroner criticised what she said was an unsafe culture in one of the trust's maternity units. A museum in Moscow has displayed Saturn, the famous crocodile that survived the Berlin bombing during World War II, after being taxidermied following its death, aged 84. The Dawa Museum announced last week that the embalming of the beast, which was transferred from a zoo in Moscow where it stayed until its death, was completed. Born in the United States in 1936, Saturn was moved to the Berlin Zoo, where it escaped on November 23rd of 1943 after a Soviet bombing raid that killed several of its fellow reptiles. A new dinosaur fossil revealed that the show-off tendency in some birds, mostly peacocks, dates back to millions of years. The new species, the Lord of the Spear, was chicken-sized with a mane of long fur down its back and stiff ribbons projecting out and back from its shoulders, features never before seen in the fossil record. It is thought its flamboyant features were used to dazzle mates or intimidate foes. China plans to share data and samples that the Chang'e 5 probe obtained during its recent mission to the Moon based on international cooperation conventions. Scientists hope the samples will give insights into the Moon's origins and volcanic activity, though a more immediate focus was on how the mission showcased China's technological advances. The mission was the first in 4 decades to collect lunar samples, emulating the feats of the United States and the Soviet Union from the 1960s and 1970s, and going a few steps further. There will be far fewer corporate parties over Christmas as big gatherings are banned due to the pandemic, but in Spain, better than expected sales of seasonal gift baskets are going some way to making up for foregone festivities. The holiday baskets are a common way in Spain to thank employees for their work over the last year. The holiday baskets range from a small present to elaborate parcels containing drinks, Ibrian ham and assorted sweets.